oldest relatives that we have any information about that I am aware of Grandpa Chap on Big Mama's side. How many of you young people know who Big Mama really is? Who's Big Mama, y'all? Oh my God.
Y'all's great grandmother, isn't it?
That's mother's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mother.
Rosalind, you know who Big Mama is.
Yeah, that's y'all's great grandmother, isn't it?
Y'all's.
It's my grandmother. It's my grandmother. She's
Yeah,
mother's.
great grandmother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's my grandmother. She is you all's great grandmother.
Yeah,
Mhm.
great grandmother.
Yeah, and she's mother's mother.
Oh, okay,
I
you
hear
said
y'all
there.
talk about her.
Do you all know who Lily Mae Banks is?
Well, yeah.
My great grandmother.
Okay, okay. I
Crystal
She's the
might
best
not.
woman in the world.
Crystal, do you know who Lily Mae Banks is?
Yes,
Oh, you do? Oh,
yes.
And this
My
has
great
never seen her.
grandmother.
Okay, so then the oldest ancestors that we have information about, and we're still doing some research, are Grandpa Chap. His name was Chapman Carter. His last name is Carter. The Big Mama's maiden name was Carter, and his wife Eliza Carter, and they were slaves. I don't know anything at all about their slave experience. The big story that I tell all the time that you all I'm sure know about Grandpa Chap is, and the only thing I know about him is what Mother passed down. And here's what's rich for us. When Big Daddy needed his to be taken care of, all of his daughters took turns to go down to make sure he had somebody with him all the time. I mean, that's unusual. Um, but while Mother was there, she interviewed him and gathered a lot of information that she wrote down, and I typed it up. So that's why we have that information. I'm not going to read this stuff, but the story about Grandpa Chap that has been classic is that they were out in the fields doing cotton. I know you've heard this story before. They were picking cotton, and Grandpa just stopped and he said to Big Mama, Lizzie, run to that house and find in the Bible where it says, there's therefore now no condemnation in them that knows the Lord. And they all started laughing and said, Grandpa, that ain't in the Bible. Yes, it is, Mom. Go find it. So Big Mama leaves the field. She goes home. The rest of them are out there picking cotton. She never comes back. So when they get home, she's still looking. It was way in the middle of the night that she found it, to her surprise, and started reading.
Look at there.
She started reading, and when she started reading, Mother said,
She
that
said,
Mother was there for
The
that.
mom
Yeah,
making
she
me
was
something.
there for that.
Look at
And Grandpa say, yes, sir, I told you it was there. And then he started shouting all over the place.
Everybody needs to mute their phone.
Huh?
I was just asking people to mute their while you were talking.
Okay. Okay. But that is a classic story about him. And so we asked ourselves, how in the world did he was illiterate, of course. How did he know? So they asked him, and he said the Lord gave it to him. To me, that is absolutely fantastic. But that's a part of our heritage, our Christian heritage, that we come from folk who knew the Lord, trusted the Lord, and obviously heard him speak to them. And Mother was saying that as Big Mama read, he picked up and started quoting the rest of it as she was reading. Before she got to it, he was citing the rest of that chapter in Romans. It's amazing. So that's on your Carter side, Chapman Carter and Eliza Carter. Okay. On your, well, I'll go on down the line with the Carters. That's what I've got here. Big Mama's daddy's name was Ellis. That was Chapman Carter's son. And he was married to Rebecca Carter. Now, the interesting thing about Grandma Rebecca, and I don't know, I never met these people, of course, is that according to my notes, her parents were full-blooded Indians. Her dad was Henry Reed, a Chickasaw Indian, and her mother was Carolyn Kennard, and she was a Creek Indian. And so they inherited, Big Mama and all of them inherited some land as a part of their Indian heritage. And our wonderful, wonderful great grandfather so gave it away to white people for a little or nothing. But and you know, Cousin Cliff died resenting that and thinking they ought to do something to try to get that land back. And the last time I was on on a Zoom meeting with Aunt Zephyr's kids. Tag mentioned it again. Tag is our first cousin, my mother's oldest sister, Zephia. That's her children. And so and as a matter of fact, Eric, Robin's son Eric, called me a few weeks ago. He came over and looked through all of my stuff. And I thought Eric really wanted to know family history because he called me, Auntie, I want to know some family history. So I said, well, come on over. So he came over and we visited for a long time. He was looking for how much Indian heritage he had so he could find out how much money he might have coming to him. But anyway,
Uh-uh.
well, that's not bad. There's nothing bad about that. But I gave him, and I've done this thing. Y'all have seen this, I know. The written information that Mother gave me that I typed up. I brought it to family reunions. So many of you ought to have copies, don't you? Let me show you what it looks like on the outside.
I'm
Yeah, is
sure
it
I
in the
have it.
last book? Yeah,
This book,
Yeah.
you got the fat
Yeah.
book?
right. Kathy says she didn't get one. She's not happy with you, but
I
yes,
have
I have a
one.
book.
I
Did you
have
say you
one.
have one, Ross?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm not going to buy you binders and make it pretty, but I have it on my computer. I can print it out and send it to you if you want
And
it.
it can go in the binder.
You want yours in a binder? Who
No,
said
no, I have a one. My binder is it, but I'm saying if you print it out for Kathy, she can put it in a binder.
Okay, so that's Big Mama's parents, Ellis and Rebecca Carter.
Before you go, but I've got one question. On the other side, you said they were Indians, but Big Mama's mother, she was African, was she?
Big Mama's mama was Rebecca, who was Indian. Who was
Okay,
Native
but
American.
Rebecca's mama, but she was a slave, so we don't know. She must have been from Africa. Okay,
Okay,
gotcha.
let me
I
go
was
over
getting
this again
confused.
because some people just a little bit.
That's
slow.
right. Yeah, I
I didn't
missed
know
something when you jumped over like that. I was still with the Carter people.
Okay, Ellis Carter, your great grandfather, their great grandfather, was the father of your grandmother, Dorothy, Elizabeth Carter.
Okay, and I'm
You have that?
and I'm married.
Okay,
Yeah. I got that.
Elizabeth's mother was
Mhm.
Rebecca Carter,
Right.
and mother called her Grandma Becky.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but anyway, and Rebecca Carter's parents were both Native Americans.
Okay. Okay.
Got that?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. That's the story that came down to me from Lily Mae Banks, who got it from Frank Carlton Scott. And after a while, we're going to get to the Scott people. Now, I've got pages and pages about Big Mama that I am not going to read all of that because you all have it. But how many of you remember her? Now that's a lady.
I
That's
do.
a lady you should have. You do, Cynthia?
Oh, yeah. We spent summers down there with Big Mama, me and Dorothy, all
Okay.
the time.
So,
Yes.
so you
You
know the
remember her,
you know the
man?
great lady.
Yes, I did.
Very well.
Yeah. So you can tell stories of. You can remember some stories about the time you spent with her. But in terms of the historical stuff, I think I've told you everything about Big Mama that I know. Now there are a lot of wonderful stories about her. One of the things that I remember was that even after her children were all grown and gone, Big Mama still made quilts and canned and did all that domestic stuff as though she had a house full of kids. So she would have it to give to the neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of lady she was. So that's Big Mama. Her husband was Big Daddy, of course. His name was Frank Carlton Scott. His parents, as far back as we know, was Ned and Peggy Scott. I know, and I don't think he remembered, not his parents, his grandparents. His grandparents, our ancestors on his side were Ned and Peggy Scott. And we know nothing about them. And I have not been able to find much about them when I've done the ancestry research. I wish some of the rest of you would begin to do some research and see what you could find.
See, I remember Big Daddy, but I don't remember Big Mama. I remember Big Daddy. I remember going down there for one of his big birthdays parties.
I bet she'd gone on to
A
heaven.
bunch of us went there. I do remember him, but I don't remember her.
I've got some pictures of that birthday. Mother made this cake in the shape of a Bible. Have you all seen that picture?
Yes.
Alan to Sarah. And yeah, that was a big thing. Not only were we all down there to celebrate that birthday, it was in his 90s, and I don't have the story in here. but we all had gone down there, and his nieces and nephews, the kids of his brother, were there too. We did worship together on that Sunday. They wrote up a big article in the Wetumpka newspaper
Uh-huh.
about him. Yeah, you
I
remember
remember
it?
that. I remember the whole trip down there. I remember that. I don't remember how old I was, but I remember the whole thing. All the good
Amazing.
food we ate,
Uh,
fresh food, fresh eggs from chickens and fresh butter that people just made and all that. I remember.
oh, great. So so
I
you
wasn't there.
participated in your rich heritage.
I wasn't there for that.
No, you weren't there for the birthday?
No, I must have been in New Mexico at the time. I was not there.
Yeah,
You
I
look at me
Maybe
like
remember.
with
I'm
Tanya at the
trying to
time.
argue with you as though I know better than you do. I'm kind of strange like that. Okay. So so you missed that. It was a real celebration. But anyway, so Big Daddy is your grandmother, Lily Mae Banks, her father.
Mhm.
Yeah. And he's the one, I'll tell you some more stories later. He's spoiled or rotten because she had polio when she was a child. And it left her with a little limp. You all maybe remember that she had a slight limp and one of
Mhm.
her feet was shorter than the other. But here's the thing: back then, and they had not, they didn't call it polio. They called it infantile paralysis at the time. And Big Daddy's mother, that I'm going to tell you about next, his mother, Grandma Scott, was an herbal medicine doctor, actually, not trained at a medical school, but she knew this stuff. She used herbal medicine to cure mother of infantile paralysis, a disease that children were dying from.
Wow.
Yeah, so very, very gifted lady. So those are Big Daddy's grandparents, Ned and Peggy Scott. His parents were Frank Carlton Scott, Big Daddy was named for him, and
Mhm.
Sally Roberta Scott. There are some stories there too, but we'll get into them later. Uh, but um, but I knew Grandma Scott well. I did not know his dad because he passed away, and then she married Grandma Scott married Frank's brother, her husband's brother. After Frank passed away, she married his brother, uh, Horace, I think was his name, or maybe the other way around. Let me see if I see it in here. I'm going to read a little bit. So Frank Senior, Big Daddy's daddy, married Sally Roberta McNeil, Grandma Scott. Both Frank and Sally were slaves. He was born in Mississippi and she was born in Florida. Big Daddy, when we would ask him, "Are you from Mississippi?" He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna stay from there too." That was one of his favorite things to say. Um, but Frank was originally owned by a Master Winchester. So you could begin to look up the Winchester if you wanted to try to trace back, but was later sold to a Master Scott. And all of this came directly from Big Daddy. Grandma Scott's mother was a slave from Madagascar. Check that out too. An island country off the coast of Southeast Africa in the Indian Ocean. The Madagascar people were a mix of Indonesian and African. The white slave master, a physician, was Grandma Scott's father. And so Grandma Scott was put. As a matter of fact, she was half white, Caucasian, and half this mixed breed of African and Indonesian. That's why she looked Indian. Very, very fair skinned, very dark straight hair, and that was her heritage. Um, but anyway, uh, the white slave master and physician was Grandma Scott's father. Grandma Scott was only 3 years old when President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in January of 1963. Most slaves were not immediately freed, and many remained enslaved until 1865 when the 13th Amendment to the Constitution was enacted. Grandma Scott remembered, and this is a story she used to tell, and she would show us her gnarled hand, a really cruel incident because the slave master's wife knew that her husband had fathered Grandma Scott, and she hated this child. One day, when she was rocking her own baby, and the rocker was creaking and making a lot of noise. She called this little girl, Grandma Scott, who was probably around 5 or 6 years old, if that old at the time, and made her put her hands under the rockers
Mm.
to stop the noise. That's how good the white folk were to the slave masters were. And so she would, when she would tell that story, she would show us how gnarled her knuckles were from that experience. Um, but the other story that Cedric used to tell that I don't know, and it surely was told to him, was he stuck an ice pick in his eye once, and they thought he was going to go blind. Somehow, Grandma Scott was able to repair that in a way that he did not lose his sight at all. So that's Big Daddy's parents. Now, Big Daddy, wise, wise, wise man. You say you remember him, Sugar Bear?
Frank, yeah, Frank
You
Scott.
remember, yeah.
Big Daddy, yeah, I met him. Big Daddy, I remember him. I always thought he was so handsome. He looked like an Indian to me.
He had some
Yes,
Indian
he
hair.
was.
He was a good-looking man, wasn't he?
He
And he
was
was just as smart
handsome.
as he. Here's what I caught him doing once, and I was a child, and he did this all the time. He would read. He loved to read. He would read the vocabulary page in the Reader's Digest and memorize those words to build his own vocabulary. He valued education so that I know with my children, I think some of the rest of you as well, he sent a letter to each kid who graduated from high school. And he'd have $5 in there. And I know the letter that I remember that he sent to Vernal, he was encouraging him to go ahead and finish his education beyond high school.
Mhm.
And he told this story in that letter, and I cannot find the original letter, but I remember he said, I always have regretted that I did not continue my education. And we're talking about beyond like the 8th grade, as bright as he was. He said, and I've always thought until now that it was because I was Black and Black people didn't have these privileges. And then I look at contemporaries and those older than I am, like George Washington Carver and Frederick Douglass, and I think they did it. I could have done it. That's the kind of man that he was, self-reflective, and really thought highly about education. God gave you a brain, do something with it. That was his mantra, actually. I do remember also though that one time when we were down there for the summer, Earl and Cedric. Now Earl is Aunt Zephyr's son, and he and Cedric both are with the Lord now. But they had gone uptown in Wetumpka, worked for this white man all day long, who had promised to pay them. And they came home with a big bag of chicken feet. When Big Daddy saw that, he said, "This is your pay." He said, "That's what he gave us." He said, "Come on." And he marched those two boys uptown into this man's shop. And he said, "These are my grandsons. They worked for you all day, and you had promised to pay them. Chicken feed is not pay. I want you to pay them, and I want you to pay them right now." Did Mr. White Man pay him? He certainly did.
Yes, he did.
Because he knew Big Daddy. He didn't know that these were his grandsons. But he carried a lot. He had a lot of respect coming from that white community up there. One time he told this story himself. He'd gone uptown to buy something, and this young white man greeted him as Uncle Frank, because the Black people in town called him Uncle Frank. And Big Daddy said he stopped short, and he said, "I beg your pardon." And the man said, "I was asking you, what would you like, Uncle Frank?" He said, "I'm not your uncle, not related to you at all. I'm Mr. Scott to you." The man was kind of taken aback. But that's the kind of respect that he demanded, and he got it because he demanded it. That's a part of where you've come from. Let's see. I've got a lot of the stuff that he wrote in here that's available to you, because Therese had Jerry to put it on the Facebook page. So if you want to go on there, you will find his writings, all the stuff that he wrote over the years. Okay, so now we have come down to Frank and Elizabeth's daughter. And what's her name?
Nellie Mae.
Lily.
Okay.
Lily.
Y'all came down to Lily Mae Scott Beggs. And I'm
My
not going to read the
grandmother.
stuff. Huh?
My
Um,
grandmother.
I mean, mother was a complex woman, very kind, very, I wouldn't call her sweet. Her mother was not sweet. You know, Big Mama was kind and
What?
gentle
What?
and all that, but sweet would not fit, would not fit her at all.
Uh,
One of, one of the stories that I remember, we were down there one summer, and Big Daddy liked men's cologne, and he had taken his bath and he had put this cologne on, and when he came out smelling up the whole house, Big Mama said, "Kids, open the windows, open the windows." Because Frank is he stuck up the whole house. Open those windows up. But that was, she was for real. She was a real person, and her daughter was very much like that. Mother was like that. What are some things that you might remember about your grandmother?
I think you say she wasn't sweet. I think she was. She may not have been sweet to those just, but that were very close to her. I mean, she could be ornery but to other people, she was sweet. She was giving and she was kind. I remember her that we had to go over next door to Miss Edith's. Remember that,
Yes.
Dorothy? We
Yes.
had to go over and take care. Mother, you had a day
yeah.
when you had to
Yeah.
go over and take care of Miss Edith and Miss Edith's
Sick.
doll, and
Yeah.
that was the nastiest place in the world, stinkiest
Yeah,
place
she
in the
couldn't
world.
take care of
But,
people.
but it didn't matter. We was gonna go over there, and we took care of Miss Edith. We took care of her dog. We
Mhm.
cooked and we cleaned for Miss Edith on this one day that was required of us to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we were,
when I think sweet, I think syrupy, kind of
oh
understated. Uh, Mother was a strong woman.
yeah,
She was kind, with no question about that. She was giving, no question about that. But I mean, and Dorothy, you and Norma and Kathy might see differently, but I didn't see sweet there. Yeah.
Well, okay.
No,
Maybe you don't know what sweet is. Okay, so she would
you know
promise
what?
you that you were going to get a whipping. And then she would go to church for the prayer meeting and everything.
And stay all night.
And then come back and whoop your behind. That was so sweet, but just sweet. and,
Mm.
and while I was getting
I
mine,
don't know what y'all
well, we
talking
won't talk
about.
about what Kathy did. But yes, she was
I don't know
Oh,
what y'all
yes,
talking
let's talk about what Kathy did. I like that part.
What's that?
well, because while I was getting my
Let's hush,
whipping,
Norma.
Kathy was stuffing all these clothes inside. So it wouldn't hurt.
What
But
else?
mother had already gotten the braided switch, and she saw those clothes and pulled out every last one. But she
Yeah.
was
She
she
made me
was such
strip
a sweet.
naked.
She was sweetness.
You didn't just pull out the clothes. She made me strip naked.
I was getting ready to say,
Oh,
so
Lord.
Kathy got real butt whipping. The rest of us got one
Oh,
with
but
Kathy's mouth.
you younger people don't. Do you know what a braided switch is?
I do.
Ask Lizzie
Ain't
Scott.
that the when you braid the straw, the hay or whatever, braided in the braid?
No,
No.
one straw and hay.
Here's
But
what these sadistic sweet people would do. You
let's
broke
say,
a rule. And so
y'all need to
Willow
back
said,
up.
I need you to go out there and get a switch.
yeah.
So you
Let's
go out there and you get the tiniest little twig you can get, and you bring it back. And they say,
Oh,
oh
yeah, I've
no,
done
that
that.
will not work. So they send you back, and they twist all of those tree limbs together, braid them together,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and that's what you got
Thank-
punished with.
Let me tell you about the tree though. The tree was a willow tree, so the limbs were very, very flimsy.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like a stiff switch. It was one that didn't give. So she could hit and
It
hit
was like a whip.
and hit and hit and
Yeah,
hit.
Like a whip.
you talking about
It
like the
didn't
weeping
give.
willow tree?
Like a whip.
Yeah. My favorite story about my grandmother, another Kathy story. She told us, do not go next door. So the next door people had a swing. So Miss Kathy goes over and swings and swings and swings and swings. And she fell, she swung up so high, she fell and she broke her nose.
Ooh.
So she
Oh,
got
boy.
home to tell Big Mother about the broken nose. Big Mother got the twisted switch,
My God.
Mm.
whipped Kathy's behind for going next door when she told her not to. Then she took her to get her nose fixed. The nose gets
Okay,
fixed
that's the kind of sweet her daughter was
after
also.
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
the whipping and
Yeah,
not before.
yeah.
But Big Mother had
Mm.
such a
I ain't
nice
gonna whip
way
somebody that's
of
hurt.
dealing with
Oh,
people. She would. But I know when me and Cynthia were down there one time, and Flossie, a good friend of ours, lived up the street from Big Mother, she came down there and I don't know how we got in it, but anyway, she called me a heifer. And so I told Big Mother, I said, Flossie told me a heifer. And she said, well, she said, I want you to go up to her house and ask her mother, what's a heifer?
mm.
And when she said, well, your daughter called me one. So that's the sweetness that was in Big Mother. Love it.
Another
Yeah.
thing I remember about my grandmother, now this is funny to me. I don't know if it's funny to everybody else. Anyway, you were not permitted to go to the movie. Big Mother did not permit us to go to the movie on a Sunday,
Hmm.
but my dad's mother would. So I was at Mother Banks's house, and a bunch of us kids got together to go to the movie. Why we walked down the street where Big Mama lives, I don't know, because it was nighttime and we figured she'd be in her lovely little house in her nice little bed. But where was she? Sitting on the porch. Now you got a whole line of black children walking down the street. How she picked me out, I'll never know. But Namu, I'm trying not to say anything. Oh, Namu! I had to go home. And then she says, okay, Mama gonna take you to the Holiness Church so we can have a nice time. You can't go to the movie, but we're gonna have fun at the Holiness
At the
Church. You know
Holiness
why?
Church.
Because we like to see them
Somebody asked what,
dance and
Norma, somebody's asking what the Holiness Church is.
because they was dancing, honey, and my grandmother on my dad's side and her cousin, honey, they could cut a rug up and down that middle aisle. Let me tell you. So I did enjoy my Sunday evening, but I didn't get a chance to enjoy it at the movie with the other children.
So Norma, they asked what the Holiness Church was. So
Oh, it's the
like the Christ.
Sanctified Church.
Yeah.
It's the
It's kind
Church
of
of
like the
God in
Church of God in
Christ.
Christ today,
God
Right.
in Christ.
a Pentecostal church. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I tell you, but if you wanted, she made the best fried pies in the world, apple
Oh,
fried
Lord.
pies, and she go out there and wring about 5 or 6 chickens necks, and she cook up fried chicken, a whole great big old bowl full of it, and the neighbors would come up because Al and Lynn used to come over and eat on Sundays, so we had all the fried chicken and wonderful biscuits and gravy. So that one thing, you never were hungry at Big Mama's because she had that storehouse and she had it full of vegetables and fruit. And Big Daddy had the meat, the smokehouse with the meat hanging up. So we never went hungry a day in our lives.
She
But
got up
Big
early
Mama
in
also made her own. She made fruit wine that she stored up in
Right.
the attic. And
Yeah.
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 one
She
summer
made what,
when we were
baby?
down there, the boys got up in the attic.
The
And
wine.
I drank the wine.
He-
Auntie done start talking
Peach
Oh,
about the
I
Brandy.
fruit
thought.
wine.
See, I thought Big Daddy was making the wine. I thought
That
that
was
was
Big
Big
Mama.
Daddy's thing, not
Big
mine.
Mama made the wine.
Yeah. Peach
Uh,
Brandy.
She,
well,
she made wonderful fruit wines.
but my grandmother was up at 4 o'clock every morning. Big Daddy had to be at work. She was up at 4 o'clock, got him off to work, and that's when she started breakfast, making biscuits and all that kind of stuff. And we
Yeah.
couldn't sleep past 6.
Oh,
If
yeah.
we were still in that bed past 6 o'clock, you can believe Lizzie Scott was gonna come and pull the covers back and let you know it was time to get up. And when you got up, you took your bath, you got dressed, and you started your day. You started your day with washing, hanging up clothes, taking them off the line, ironing clothes, putting clothes away. That was how you started your day at my grandmother's house.
And don't forget plucking chicken feathers.
Yeah, they put.
Oh, I had to wring the
Wringing the
chicken's
chicken's
neck.
neck?
Daughter was talking about her
Oh,
wringing
Lord, no.
wring
She
chicken's
made
neck.
you ring. Well, I remember her ringing the neck because Big Mother sent me out to get the eggs. Said, go
Yes.
out there and get these eggs. And I went out there to get the eggs. Girl, and that chicken tried to peck me. And I went in there and I said, Big Mother, I'm not back. I'm like, I'm done. I'm through getting eggs.
Yeah, and she
First
went
she
out
had
and
me
lifted the
tending.
chicken up off the eggs and
Oh, girl. Yeah,
yes.
somebody get them. And she told me one time to milk this cow, and I put my little head in there. I'm trying to milk that cow. That cow kicked his foot, girl, and I ran all the way across the street from that cow. I was not ever a good farm lady.
That was Miss Terry's cow. Y'all remember Miss Terry?
Yeah, Miss Terry had that cow.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Miss Terry would come over when I remember most about Miss Terry is she would come over when it was storming
Yeah, she was scared of
and,
the storm.
and get up under the bed. Now we sitting on the bed watching TV. Miss Terry is under the bed and y'all know I'm laughing, don't you? You know I'm just cracking.
She was afraid of storm.
She was afraid of storm. And Big Mama, she's giving me the look. But I was
But she taught us. She taught us how to can and how to make preserves. You learned how to snap beans and all that kind of stuff we had to learn how to do. Make cake from scratch.
Right.
crochet.
Her daughter sitting here called Ann Harris. She was named after her mama.
I have a story to tell about your mother, Lily.
I'm talking about my Aunt Harris.
Your mama Lily. Your mama Lily.
Reese.
Eddie was on one side of the
I saw my Uncle Cliff. Where you go?
I was on the other side.
Uh-huh.
So I always thought of her as sister mama.
Uh-huh.
Another thing I have to tell about your mother, your time.
Auntie, get close to the mic. We can't hear
Grandmother.
you. Okay.
You know what? I forgot my earphone. So my
Okay.
sound goes in and out. So I apologize.
No problem.
Oh, don't
But
you?
anyway, Lily, Pearl said, no, grandmother said, Grandma Scott, Roberta.
Uh-huh.
Poor boo.
Now it's going again. We can't hear you.
I can't hear you, Auntie.
Poor Bud.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, you gotta talk real loud, mommy. Yeah.
Poor Bud.
Mhm.
Lily, Lizzie, and these kids gonna kill poor Bud. So your mother Lily told her, well, grandmother, you had a chance at 2 to kill.
What did mother tell her?
Get close
You
again.
have 2 to kill. You killed 2.
Oh, shut up, girl. No, she didn't.
Yes, she did. Grandmother Roberta, the doctor said you killed 2. You should give mama a chance at 1.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That was the only time that she talked that.
I bet it was.
She was a little sassy herself. Maybe that's why she would let us sass her out.
Anyway, grandma straight all the time. One time she was the midwife, so she delivered all the babies.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And one time, I don't know which baby it was, but she was delivering a baby and wasn't getting to the doctor fast enough. So she told her dad to listen, get my mama to the doctor because me and Chevy gonna go there. Now she talking back to daddy.
Mm.
Had a mouth out of his.
Girl, but that's why I'm telling these kids, no, I love my mother. She was kind and all that. Sweet, she was not. No, she was honest. You could call a spade a spade.
I don't understand. I don't.
You know.
I never saw that. I don't know. I don't understand that.
You were not her child.
Sugar Bear. That's why you
I don't.
Sweet.
Let me try to.
And
I
nice
don't
and,
understand why y'all saying that.
I know you
She
don't
was not
because you were
sweet.
not her child.
Because, well, not just that.
She
You
was
didn't have to
always
be a
sweet.
She
child.
had such a way with words.
Mhm.
Oh,
She would never be so crude as to call a spade a spade.
No.
She would
I'm not saying I've never heard her say there's some little slick stuff. I'm not saying that. But she has always been, y'all saying that my grandmother was not sweet. And yes, she was sweet.
Honey, it's not sweet.
Okay,
It's
babe.
not sweet if
When
you
it came
say
to her
slick
kids and
stuff to
grandkids,
people.
I can
You don't
remember,
call that sweet.
I can remember when Ebony was born and Lily had just had her surgery on her hip. I think she had one of the hip replacements. And so I said, Lily,
Get close. We can't hear you, Auntie.
lifting that baby, just had surgery.
Can't
Get
hear you,
close.
Auntie.
Tell me what I should do with my children.
Oh, yeah, but that
Uh-oh.
sounds
And I
like
want to do.
Uh-oh, I heard that.
I never advised her about her kids
yeah,
anymore.
that sounds like her.
Uh-oh.
Okay, now I wasn't there to hear this, but the other siblings tell me that one time when Dorothy was, I won't use the
All
word.
right, Barbara,
sassy,
watch
because
your
Dorothy
mouth.
can say, Dorothy was sharing her feelings with Mother.
Mm-hmm.
And Maxine intervened and said, Dorothy, why are you talking with Mother like that? Why are you talking to Mother like that?
Mm-hmm.
And Mother said, I know how to take care of my own children.
Oh, I remember that because
Uh-oh.
I was the one who said, Dorothy, how you gonna talk to mother like that? And mother gonna say, sister, I got this. I can take care of my own. But okay, take care of it. When
Yeah,
she come home and knock her out, then what you gonna say?
but Mother wouldn't
Oh.
let, I don't know, now Dorothy, you weren't sassy, but I mean, oh, how did that come out of my mouth?
Because that's the truth. You said the truth. God let you
Dorothy
tell the
wasn't
truth.
sassy.
No,
God
I was
let
not
Barbara tell the
sassy.
truth.
No, Dorothy did have a bad mouth.
Oh, Lord.
But I would give Mother a piece of my mind too, because she allowed it.
She
She
did.
said she wanted her
Stella,
children to feel free to express themselves.
Robert Jean,
Hmm?
Aunt Stella too, across the alley.
Oh, Lord, that's
Oh,
Stella.
yeah, let's don't even talk about it.
Don't
Don't go there.
let them just lay around here and do nothing.
I'm telling crazy
And
for
Robert
me.
Jean said, Aunt Stella, no, your house over there.
Oh, okay.
That's-
She was kind of like my mama. Yeah, ass mouth.
yeah, I would.
Oh,
I had a little mouth on me too, but you better control your mouth when Shedrick is around.
You sure
He
better.
walked up
yeah,
on
Daddy
me,
wouldn't play that stuff.
sharing my feelings with Mother one time, and he walked in the house, and I was in the middle of just giving her a piece of my mind, and Daddy said, "What did you say?" Nothing. He said, if I ever hear you talking to your mother like that again, I will. His favorite expression, I will wear you out.
Yeah.
But he
I
didn't
play that.
make idle promises though. When Daddy said he was going to wear you out, on the
You had
10th
done
time
something
that you
bad.
violated the rule, he would
Yeah.
start the wearing out process, and he would do the remember that time.
Every
Remember that time you sassed your mama out? Blah,
And Daddy
I'm
never-
tired of this. Remember that time? I said, I hope you hurry up and
You
get
gotta
over your
remember.
tiredness. Yeah, you did not disrespect his wife. You just simply did not do that.
And daddy never told you twice to do anything.
No.
If daddy said do something and you didn't
meant
go and
do
do it, well, he might tell you twice, but that's all you got. I tried him one time. I was come home from school. My little friends were with me, and we were dilly-dallying in the living room, and he told me to get the living room cleaned up. And I didn't say anything. I just kept dilly-dallying. And he said, Norma Jane, didn't I tell you to get the living room cleaned up? I didn't say anything. The next time I looked up in front of my friends and all, he was wearing my behind out. Did I get the living room cleaned up? I sure did.
Yes, ma'am.
Did my friends laugh at me? They sure did.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Oh.
to
I
me,
never heard him raise his voice about anything.
Never raised his voice.
No,
But
he
you
knew.
knew when he meant business.
yeah, but when he spoke, you
You knew he meant
knew
what he
that he
said.
meant his,
But
and that wasn't
I-
just with us as
I
children. that
do
was with
know one
anybody.
thing. He had
Huh?
really courted from the time he got married until he passed away.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the truth.
Courted.
When he get home in the morning from work at 2:00 in the morning, and I was a baby, and they would be trying to have some quality time, and I just sit right there in the midst of them and drink coffee with cream.
When Kathy
They
had
did.
Kathy really had a
I think
good
Barbara
right
has a
law to do no wrong.
I think Barbara has a picture of mother waiting for daddy to get home from work.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she was dressed to kill,
What
honey.
happened?
You'd have thought she was going out to the nightclub, and she was laying on the couch like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
talk
you know
about
what,
a
Norma,
love
and one
story.
time, you know,
Talk
they
about
wore
a
back
love
then, they
story.
wore those girdles or whatever type things. And
For
daddy
sure.
gonna come in there and mother had on that thing. And he said, well, you know, baby, you look like you 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I said, no, daddy, you must be blind or something. Because I'm almost 18 years old.
Oh,
But
He
yeah,
told me one
courted
time
his wife. Yeah.
when I was pregnant with Kim, I was trying to decide what I was gonna name her. So I said, you know what? I said, Mother had to name her baby that she lost Shedrin. I said, I think I'm gonna name her Shedrin. He said, I can have my own Shedrin baby. I said, boy, you too old to have anything, let alone a Shedrin.
Yeah.
I don't even know who you talking to. I can have my own Shedrin.
yeah. She would wait up when he was working nights, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Understand? She would get
Michael's
back,
iPad, would you mute
offer
yourself?
selling stuff on so that she would look
Who's
good,
that?
smell good for her husband. And they would be eating ice cream or dessert or something that she prepared. To me, their love story is just worth remembering. It says
Interfering, I
this is
can't
what you
hear.
look for in a man, because that's the way he treated her and that's the way she treated him. They
And it was such a love story that everybody knew it. They were on their way somewhere on a bus. The churches were going somewhere. And Reverend Bailey was talking about, pointing them out. Yeah, you see them two lovebirds sitting over there. See them two lovebirds? I said, Charles, how you know my
But do you all remember the time? Because I was at home then when Reverend Coleman was pastor at Greystone. And Reverend Coleman knew that Daddy had no respect for him at all because he was not a man to be respected. In business meeting, Reverend Coleman said, Brother Banks, stand up. And Daddy did that. Steve does this really well, kind of looking down like, what the hell you talking about? He would never talk like that. But he finally, he slowly stood up and he said, I want you to tell me what you think about your church and your pastor. And Daddy said, well, Brother Pastor, I think everybody in here knows how I feel about my church. I love my church and they know that. And the way I feel about you is something I need to tell you in private. Reverend Coleman sat there with his mouth wide open and Daddy sat down. That was the end of the story. I mean, that's the kind of dignity that he had. It's like, you're not going to front me off,
No.
and I'm not going to be disrespectful of you. But of course, Rosalind, your mother she probably took this to heaven with her. Opal played the piano for the Sunday school.
Yeah.
So at one of the business meetings, they were talking about we needed to pay Opal. We could give her $15 or something. And Opal was sitting there and smacking up her hands thinking $15, that works. And Daddy stood up and he said, my daughter is a member of this church just like everybody else. It is her responsibility to use her gift for the good of the church. Opal talked about that forever after that happened. She was so mad at him. But I mean that's he did something similar to me, not with church stuff, but I had taken this job after high school working as a waitress, and $24 a week, y'all. That was good pay. $24 a week. But they wanted me to wash dishes and do all this stuff. So I came home and I said, I'm quitting this job. And Daddy said, oh yeah? He said, yeah. I said, yes. I said, because they did this, they did that, they did the other. And he said, again, like Harry said, he didn't raise his voice. He said, okay, so are they paying you what they said they would pay you when you took the job? Yeah. Are you doing the job that they gave you? Did they tell you it was going to be a dishwasher and a waitress job? Well, yeah. He said, so they have not violated their contract with you, but you're getting ready to violate your contract with them. If you don't want to work there any longer, find another job, give them your 2 weeks notice, and then leave. But just to hop up and quit a job. He told Cedric one time when Cedric was called to preach, when Cedric was called to preach, and Cedric said he was going to have to, he was going to have to give up that job because he needed to prepare for the ministry. And Daddy said, "Man, you got a wife and a family. You ain't doing that." It was just that's the kind of man my father was. I'm gonna tell you guys, you have a rich, rich heritage in these people we're talking about. They're people of integrity. People are smart too.
Oh, and
So,
read some of his work that is under the Scott Carter Facebook.
huh?
Scott Carter Facebook.
Oh,
Read some of Daddy's work.
yeah, yes, yes,
Lots of pages.
yeah, yeah. Make sure you go on our
You
family Facebook.
was a
There are
fanatic.
two. I have a Cedric and Lily family Facebook page where it's just us, and then there is a Scott Carter Facebook page where it's a whole extended family, and lots of good stuff on both of those.
Well, notice that he did a lot of his spelling phonetically, but very agent, very thoughtful,
Yeah,
good
yeah,
paper.
Tell
yeah.
you another thing, my mom and dad had 10 children,
Uh-huh.
but we never lacked having anything that I can remember. My mother sold like any of these high price stores you can go into and buy whatever you want to buy. She could make it for us and do our hair. We stayed
Yeah.
looking good all the
Yeah.
one
Yeah,
thing that
yeah,
Daddy would not, my
yeah,
mother told me, go to
Mama did.
Goodwill.
Maxine and I wore, they may have been
Yeah,
clothes that you get over again, but we thought we were looking real cute. And of course, Karen has a picture of the two of us sitting there. We had our organdy dresses on, and Penny Lopez saddle off,
Yeah, I was cute, Auntie.
really dressed up.
Yeah, I was cute. I know that picture.
I like that picture too.
They look like sisters.
mhm.
Well,
But mother didn't go to the store and buy fabric
Nope.
because there were so many of us. Everybody who had a rag would fill a bag full of their old clothes and stuff and give it to us. And mother would go through that stuff and find something that was still had good fabric and tear that old dress or whatever it was up and make us something. She made my white dress for the baccalaureate that everybody, and she made it out of this stuff that people had given us, and everybody was talking about my dress.
I know Mama would get these unbleached domestic flower bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what she made me dress out
Store
of.
blouses.
Yeah.
I don't know from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the flower bags that were floral, broomstick skirts, and we thought we were really.
Yeah,
I
you big
found
mother made it right. She
And
made
I
me a little
still
dress out of
have,
that.
and I'm going to put it on Facebook. Have Jerry do it.
Mm-hmm.
I still have crochet. To use it as a tablecloth, or to use it as thread, and flower cotton back, and unthreaded it,
Mm-hmm.
threads together, and made that sort of thing out of that.
You know, Big Mother also made those. You know, she also made those little poodles out of plastic. I
Plastic
don't know
bag,
what.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now her daughter Lily was very much like her. Nothing went to waste.
That's
I
right.
never made hook rugs out of because it used to be when you buy your meat, you went to the butcher shop and they wrapped it in the brown paper and they used twine to hold the paper together. She saved that twine and made hook rugs.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there was nothing that she did not use to make something useful out of. And mother would do the same thing. Mother taught Ebony because mother kept Ebony when Ebony was real young because Norma was working. She taught Ebony her alphabet by she cut out from plastic bottles. She cut out the letters of the alphabet. I remember, and they stayed with me for a while. Mother did, and so she was keeping Ebony. So then I come home from work one day and Ebony's grilling me. So she holds up the letters of the alphabet and she says, so what is this? I said, oh, that's a B. She said, good. And mind you, she's like 2.5 years old. And so, and so finally she held up a Q, but she was holding it by its tail. So I said, oh, that's a O. She said, no, try again. I said, it looks like a O, Q. It's a Q. Can you say Q? I thought, yeah, I think I can say Q. But Anthony was probably ready for school long before she was old enough to go to school.
Yeah, probably when she was 2 years old. I know she was still a year old when mother taught her how to write her name using those letters that she could cut out. She taught Ebony how to write those letters. So I was at church one Sunday and I was telling a school teacher friend of mine that was sitting next to me. I said, well, I said, she knows how to write her name. Girl, she ain't old enough to write no name. Oh, she can write her name. Give me one of those programs. And I turned the program over and gave her a pencil. She sat right there and wrote her name. And that Betty almost fell out the.
I used to tell mother all the time, I said, you know what? You should have gone back to school and become a professional classroom teacher. And I kept pushing her and pushing her. And she did. She went to the junior college where I was finishing up and where I had gone. And one of her teachers told me one day, I think Lily needs to be teaching this class. And then that's when Big Daddy got so he needed his girls to come and take care of him. So because she was had to go back and forth to Oklahoma, she stopped. But she told me one time, this is how sweet she was. When I kept pushing her about going to college, she said, well, what would you rather? That I had gone to college or I had had you? I said, you could have done both.
But now, even though mother did not, but well, I heard we should know because I think all of you guys went to was it Lincoln? Wasn't it Lincoln College or what?
Langston University.
Langston,
Oh,
yeah.
Langston, yeah.
Yeah. And but mother did do some substitute teaching for a while, didn't she?
Before you had to be a certified teacher.
Right.
She taught.
Yeah.
Elementary school in
okay, I know she did.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, she did.
Okay. I wanted to say I am the daughter-in-law, the one that she loves the most. The one that she loves the most. But anyway, Mrs. Banks, we were talking one day and then I was telling her, because we had decided to get married and we were talking and then she says, well, sweetie, have you picked out your wedding gown? And I said, well, no, because I want something different. I want somebody to make it. And I don't know anybody to make it. She goes, well, I can make it. I mean, I won't be able to do it all, but I know this lady that's my friend, and she can help me make it, or she can make it all, and I can help her. I said, okay, Miss Banks, so her and her friend got together and they took my measurement. Well, I went over, a couple of tries and they took my measurements and everything and they both got it together and they sent it to the cleaners. And I don't know, maybe Dorothy or Kathy took it to the cleaners.
Give me some of that.
And they brought it back and they she didn't even leave a pin in there, But I do have to say that she helped this lady. I mean, I know that one of her hands was a little bit, hurting or something. But I know that her and her friend got together and they made my wedding dress. So when I got married, your mother, she did it perfectly, and I loved my wedding dress. I mean, it wasn't nothing lavish, but it was something very simple that I liked.
Yeah,
she didn't pretty. And I always tell people, she didn't even leave a pin. But I mean, that's what I remember, and she was very proud of it. And then I know that she had told me, she says that it was going to be her turn to go to Oklahoma during that week. She says, well, we didn't think about it because I don't know what she told me, but I just said, well, yeah, you don't want to go and that's fine. You know me, I just told her that. And she goes, no. And she goes, but your dress is going to be beautiful. And it was, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So she made my wedding dress. I could say she helped this lady make my wedding dress.
Yeah.
Or they both did, or I don't know how they did it, but they didn't leave a pen in there.
Well, mother was very articulate.
Yes.
She was a seamstress. She was a cook, but she was also a musician when it
Yes.
comes to singing.
Oh my
Yes.
God. Yes.
Don't miss
Demanding.
a note.
Note.
I
Note.
mean, she's supposed to be cleaning up
Perfection.
the house, and in the middle of cleaning out the closet, she's got to teach us this song, and it has to be in perfect harmony. If you did not stay on your note, it was like cut.
Yep.
All right,
Right
now let's
again.
rehearse this note again.
Yep. Do it again.
Altos, let me hear your note. Don't miss it.
Yep.
Sopranos, let me hear your note. Tenors, let me hear your note. Now put it all together. Get off track. Up, cut.
She did that with us too.
Oh, so you remember that, Ross?
Oh yeah. It had to be perfect.
And I had no idea what it meant to sing flat. But I was always doing flat according to her. You're flat. What are you talking about? You're flat.
Because you're not rounding out your notes. You have to sing from your diaphragm and round.
Yeah, I remember that.
Lisa does that to me now.
But mother took that time to teach us poems too. She'd say, we're gonna clean out the closet today and we're gonna separate the clothes.
Yeah,
and
right.
she started the singing and the poems, and we never did get the clothes separated. That was an all-day thing.
We'd have to wait until she went to Oklahoma to be able to clean the house up and get the closets cleaned up. Our mother's leaving town, praise God. We can get the closets cleaned out while she's gone. Throw away a bunch of stuff. Because we're supposed to be throwing away stuff. And she said, oh no, sister, I can use that. Put that in that pile over there. Time we get up, the pile of saving was bigger than the pile we started with.
Did mother ever finish cleaning up anything?
Never.
No, we never finished.
So don't stop and ask no
but the
questions.
house had better be straight when daddy get home.
Start directing a song.
Oh.
Yeah. There was a song to sing or to
memorize. As we learned poetry on Saturday. Saturday was supposed to be the cleanup day.
And she was very.
Get started cleaning up, she'd pull all this stuff out of the closets we were supposed to go through and throw away that we didn't want and all of that stuff. She would get through the bags of stuff and she'd run into a poem. Come here, y'all. So we sit down and well, she would never say y'all, you all know that.
I'm glad Daryl is back because I want to tell this story on Daryl and Diane, speaking of their grandfather, and I don't tell you to do anything twice.
Ooh.
They were probably maybe 9, maybe 8 or 9, and they upstairs just acting a plumb fool. And so Daddy went to the bottom of the steps and said, get down these stairs. They just taking their little old time and still acting a fool. Daddy said, get down these stairs. By the time they decided to come down the stairs, Daddy was already halfway up. He whipped their little behinds all the way down them steps from where they were. They never did that again.
I think we got whooped by everybody.
Oh yeah,
we got a chance to whip you.
Now, that's a shame right there. What did Diane Facebook thing said? Because you didn't believe fat meat was what?
Greasy.
There you go.
And Steve's gonna have to tell the story about when Mother whipped him and Ricky and who else? Who was the other person? Steve. Doing the yeah.
Nikki.
Yeah, Nikki, Ricky.
Luke was on here just a minute ago. I don't know what happened to him. He was on there, but he dropped off. But yeah, we well, see, I told this at mother's funeral, but we were at the church and all the adults were down in the basement and we're upstairs. So William Hackney was the janitor. He was cleaning up the church, so we were up there messing around. Everybody's down in the basement. So Rook and William Hackney decided to play Dr. Ben Casey. And if you all remember that show at the beginning, they're wheeling this gurney down the hallway, calling Dr. Ben Casey, calling Dr. Ben Casey, and the doctor in front of the gurney just throws open the operating room doors as they wheel the patient in. So they grabbed the communion table and pushing it down the aisle, calling Dr. Ben Casey. So we in front of them because we're the ones gonna throw open the doors, right? So we throw open the doors from the sanctuary. That wasn't good enough. We just kept going and threw open the front doors, brand new glass doors. The church just paid $500 for. And you know that old building was stone. And if they had put door stops on there, this wouldn't have happened. But the doors flew open and hit the stone and broke. Both of the doors broke.
Oh.
Glass shattered and everything.
Oh,
And
no.
so mother sent us home. And of course, promised us a whipping to send us home. And she stayed at church. So we're sitting at home, so nervous. We were stupid enough to be wishing Daddy would come home. But he didn't. And mother finally came home and we waiting around. We think, well, maybe she forgot. Just before bedtime, here she comes. And she set us all down and she said, okay, now, she told Rook, she said, okay, now, Ricky, since you're the youngest, I'm gonna whip you first. And when it hurt, then you tell grandmother and I'll stop. So she started whipping and Rook was like, okay, grandmother, it hurt. And she kept whipping me. Say, grandmother, it hurt. And she kept on whipping. She said, grandmother, okay, it's hurting. She said, what you say, baby? Grandmother can't hear you.
This is your sweet grandmother. Okay, oh, keep going.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, grandmother.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my story.
She was sweet, but guess what? She whooped me because I fell off the back roof playing.
That's right, because she told y'all not to be jumping from roof to roof.
While you up there.
Now
we try to sneak in the back door, and she's standing there.
Yep.
And she said, grandmother gotta whoop you because you try to hurt yourself.
Yeah, because she knew you were gonna do it. So now what?
Get
off my grandmother.
They jumping from the roof of the house to the roof of the garage.
Don't try to act like she ain't justified.
She had to whip you to keep you from hurting yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
When she would come down and sit next to you at church, and she's singing in the choir. They're singing this beautiful song. Mother's singing along. We're cutting up. She's still singing and very dignified. She comes down on the choir stand, just walking at a normal pace. She wedges into the pew where you're sitting. She fits herself next to you and she reaches out and still singing, she begins to pinch. You know what I'm saying?
I remember those pinches.
You remember that too?
Yeah.
Oh my
Lord. They hurt.
The thing about it, it wasn't just a pinch. It was a pinch and a twist.
And a twist.
And a
With
twist.
twist.
And a twist.
The pinch with the twist.
And then she would whisper in your ear and say, and you better not cry.
Right.
I know. You better not cry. Better not cry. I want to share this thing that Sherry sent to everybody. I don't know if you guys read your stuff or not, but I remember that Joe Louis Washington was at the house and the guys were playing. I guess Cedric and Joe Louis and that gang of boys were probably around 9, 10 years old, not much older than that. And Joe Lewis called Cedric a nigger. He said, and it wasn't like I'm mad at you, nigger. It was like, that's your name, nigger. And Cedric said, man, don't call me that. And he said, Cedric, man, that's what you are. You a nigger. And Cedric said, I said, don't call me that. I'm not a nigger, and you're not a nigger. Call me by my name. Joe Lewis persisted, and Cedric he got up, and he just started. Cedric would fight. He just started hammering him and beating the snot out of him until we had to pull him off of Portalo Joe Louis Washington. But I'll bet you Joe didn't call nobody else a nigger after that. and speaking of Cedric, first he was not a preacher yet. He was 30 some odd years old when the Lord called him to preach. But we always had funerals if we found a dead bird or something like that. So we'd put him in a shoebox, and Cedric would preach this, and we would be mourning and crying and weeping and singing. And then when we finished all that, Cedric would preach about poor Mr. Bird. Poor Mr. Bird, going to be with the Lord now. Oh, Mr. Bird. And we're just crying and acting crazy. That's the kind of fun we used to have. The other thing about Cedric was he and Eddie had gone to a football game.
You gotta find my phone.
They came home late from the game, and Eddie had already told Cedric. He said, Cedric, man, they went to a party, an after party. And so Eddie said, when we get home and Daddy asks us why we're late, you tell him that we ran into some trouble and we had to find a ride, and it took us a while to find a ride before we could get home. And Eddie took him over the story several times. So they get home, and Daddy says, where in the world have you all been? And Eddie starts talking. And Cedric said, Daddy said, no, I want Junior to tell me first. So Cedric looks at Eddie, and he said, Eddie, man, I'm sorry. I can't tell him a lie. Eddie said, who do you think you are? You're not George Washington. You like. so Cedric told the truth, and it was so angry with him.
But you know what? I think it must be a part of the.
I don't think he's ever lying about stuff.
No, he didn't lie.
Eddie might tell a lie. Eddie could tell a lie with a straight face.
Easy.
Yeah, y'all leave my brother alone. You know, he's gone on about his business. He's lying himself. But you know,
but he was showing up a liar when he was here taking care of other people's business.
But
You know, your big mother predicted.
you know, some about these preachers, they start early trying to preach. Y'all used to be out there preaching, hollering, oh, Father, bless my draw, bless my draw. Then I'll be cracking up. But you know, I'm sorry. Okay.
I was saying that my mother, your big mother, predicted that Junior was going to preach long before he preached.
Mm-hmm. She sure did. When he was cutting up just as bad as he could possibly be.
No, they're the ones. And when Norma was talking about Joe hopping from roof to roof, I just had to think about when he was maybe about 2 years old and fell out of that window down there when Kathy, and this was on the concrete, and Kathy was living in a 2-story place. That boy fell on the concrete, and they took him to the hospital. Wasn't nothing mattered that boy, nothing. And his cousin Benny, Benny told him, man, if you get on your PF flyer, you just bounce back up. That's how crazy.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, he was sore and blamed it on Tanya. Said Tanya pushed him out.
Yeah, she pushed me. I stand on that.
Knowing my niece, I'm not going to discount what they're saying yet. I think
Find my phone.
But
hey, you guys, we can't tell all the stories tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a 7:26. So I'm not calling it in, but when you are, how long do you want to go?
I just want to tell one more thing about Daddy, and then we can go as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Daddy on his day off work, that was we called our family night.
Mm-hmm.
And Daddy would cook the meal, and we would sit around and we would sing and we would eat and we would just have a good family time. Daddy always believed in family.
Yeah.
So we always had a family night. And we always put up our Christmas tree as a family. And, you know, Daddy would bring the tree and set it all up and everything. We would make the ornaments and everything, because he was really all about families being families. So I always appreciated that about our family.
What
I
I
wanted to say
appreciate the
something.
man of man.
We do that too. My family does that.
Yeah.
I appreciate the man of man.
Yeah.
the banner man.
Got to choose whatever dessert he wanted from the man of man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was
They would know about
included
the man.
right in the middle.
Yeah. So back
Mother
in the
liked the
day,
fruit
you could
cake.
have, you didn't have refrigerators, you had ice boxes. You
Yeah.
could have ice delivered to your house, you could have bread delivered to your house, and you could have milk delivered to your house.
Yeah.
So and we had all three. We had a milkman, we had the manor man who delivered pastries and bread, and then the ice man. And with the ice man, you had a card because you could get 25 pounds, 50 pounds, 75 pounds, or 100 pounds, depending upon what side of the card you put up. So if this side of the if this piece said had 100 on it, then you put the 100 upward, and he would know to leave you 100 pounds, bring in 100 pounds of ice. And then often we would forget to put the card in there. So the iceman is going down the street, and one of us is running behind him, said, "Mr. Howe, we need some ice. We need some ice." We were so well organized.
God have mercy. But you
And
know what?
I
I just wanted to
remember
say this.
that every summer, Shedrick made sure y'all
Yeah.
got a trip to Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah.
On Grandma Scott, you know, talking about her being a midwife, you know, most of us, most of them know Lynn. I guess I know Lynn, your cousin, and she delivered Lynn, and he still has the birth certificate. And I think we had some kind of reunion or whatever, and he brought it and showed it to us. But he's always been so proud of the fact that he was delivered by Grandma Scott.
I never knew
wasn't
that.
aware of that.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
I went to college with a girl who was
He
delivered
got the
by
birth certificate.
and at Langston, Alfred, freshman at the same time I was, and she was delivered by grandmother.
I didn't understand you, Auntie.
I went to college with a young lady from Ulika that was delivered by grandmother.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Delivered a lot of babies, healed a lot of people that the doctors had no way I mean, medical science was not that advanced at the time.
Traveled by wagon.
Yeah, yeah. Cedric had pneumonia. He was supposed to die. Grandma healed him.
I hated when summer came because we had to go and get our cleaning out done.
I wish she was here now so she could heal this coronavirus.
No, that's true.
you probably could too.
You're right.
Should have left y'all the recipes. I know that.
Mm.
Well,
Listen,
before-
Can you hear? Whatever Can you she hear was me? using.
Yes.
Can you all hear me? I don't have anything to add to your story. It's very interesting. Everything you're saying, I've heard a lot of them before, and every time I hear them, they're still interesting. But I do want to say this about mother. Now, the reason that I will take a plane ride right today is because she just told me why I was afraid to take a plane ride. And we was talking about it one day of getting ready to go, or maybe she was getting ready to go someplace. But anyway, we were talking about riding on the plane. And I was telling her about I wasn't going to get on the plane. I had all these reasons, but she gave me the real reason. She said, well, sister, you don't want to ride on the plane because you're just afraid of dying. And when I thought about that, that's the real reason why I didn't want to ride on the plane. And I think that's the real reason anybody does not want to ride on a plane, because they know you can't stop it in midair and get off if you're scared. You gotta take the full ride.
Yeah.
So what else are you afraid of? You ain't afraid to sit in the seat. You ain't afraid to put on the seat belt. You're not afraid to look at the movie.
True.
What else you gonna be afraid of? You're afraid that if that plane falls, that you're doomed for death. And so that kind of educated me to why I was really afraid of it. And since then, haven't had too many plane rides since then. But I'll get on the plane in a minute and think nothing of it. Last time the men, Eleanor went on the plane, I went to sleep. I just got on. I was so relaxed, so comfortable. I went to sleep. So that's one thing I'd say. What mother did for me, and also the reason I don't drink coffee today is because, when you smoke cigarettes, I don't know how many of you still smoke, But anyway, me and my buddy, I ain't gonna call no names, Dorothy. I won't call no names, bear no blames, but
Yeah, I'm so
we
glad I
kept
stopped.
on, we kept on going through the quitting act. You know, we gonna quit. I ain't smoking no more. No, me either. I ain't smoking no more. So kept on smoking, kept smoking. But she's not the reason that I don't drink coffee. But when I've started going through menopause and sweating all the time and everything, then mother said, well, stop drinking that hot coffee. And I never did like hot peppers. I remember not Barbara, but Norma liked hot peppers. You still like peppers, Norma? She must be gone.
Yeah, I
But
do.
anyway, she's
And
like
so does
hot.
my 12-year-old grandson. He likes hot stuff too.
He likes hot cup of coffee. Well, I did at that time. I smoked cigarettes and drank coffee. And she said, she didn't say nothing about the cigarettes, but she said, well, you stop drinking so much that hot coffee, then those hot flashes will get better. And so I quit. I actually quit drinking coffee when she told me that. And I did not. I went through the change as smooth as a whistle. I didn't have no problem with, like a lot of people say, oh, the night sweats. I had a few, but I wasn't suffering with them like a lot of people. But she told me to quit drinking that hot coffee. So I stopped and I didn't have them anymore. And so the phone ride and not the phone ride, the plane ride and the coffee is two things I remember about mother. And then what I remember about your dad is I wouldn't have given myself 2 minutes to teach anybody, especially about the Bible. But he started me to teach. He just told me after church was over, and he just came to where I was sitting, I think it was. But anyway, and he said, Jean, he said, next first Sunday, I think it was, he said, I want you to take the young people's class. And you know what I'm saying? Class, what class? You know, it said Sunday school class. I want you to teach the young people. So, you know, my heart jumped in my mouth then. I wanted to tell him, no, I ain't teaching nobody nothing. So, but he was insistent. And so I said, well, I've never taught any class before, you know, and so he told me, he said, you just sit down with Lily Banks a couple of times and you'll be able to teach. So I did that. You know, I sat down with mother the first Sunday. I told her would she come downstairs with me, and I had studied my book, and she came down and sat with me, and she didn't. She would never make you look small, you know. She would always correct you in such a way till you welcomed her correcting. So she sat down with me in the class and listened, you know, and added what she could to it and everything. And then when it was out, then she would tell me, she said, always when you get ready to teach, study the scripture that your lesson is coming from. She said, if you do that, you will always be able to teach your lesson. So from both of those people, I learned a lot, and I teach today, and I think the Lord is pleased with my teaching. And I don't drink coffee, thank God. And when I pull away from the coffee, then I pull away from cigarettes. But you heard my story about the cigarettes. So anyway, that's my addition to the memories for tonight about mother and dad. And I was proud to call her mother. Because my mother had my birth mother, who was my doll. I had a sweet, beautiful mother. And so when she passed, then a mother stood in her stead. I won't say took her place because nobody could ever take the place of her mother. But she stood in my mother's stead, and I considered her mother from the time I met her until the time she passed away. So that's my addition to the story.
Yeah.
Well,
I just wanted to
first
say
of all,
that.
we already established the fact that she was not sweet. So we'll forgive that part of your story. The other thing, as far as the plane is concerned, it's a good thing that she didn't mind riding the plane because she didn't have a car, and she always kept her bags packed. And all you had to do was call up and say, Lily, we going. Oh, girl, let me get my shoes. Yeah, it's a good thing I just got out of the shower.
And she was ready. But I do remember about the plane rides with her, where Dorothy bought her that beautiful blue coat with the fox fur around the collar. and left it on the plane. And I think you all called about trying to retrace and get the coat back. But you don't know nobody wasn't gonna get that coat back. That was a beautiful blue coat. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, Ricky, you missed the story that Steve was telling about y'all.
Before we get off it, well, I'm gonna say something else about mother, because you know, say she wasn't sweet. Now,
they don't let you forget that, Barbara.
My
You should have kept that one to yourself.
One of my friends would tell me all the time, man, your mother make a nigga feel low. I said, what you mean? He said, well, when she want to get on your case, she don't just holler at you. She will call you over and hold your hand and talk to you all nice till you feel like nothing.
Yeah, Alina used to say that. That gal, when she gets through talking to you, she can cuss you out without saying a cuss word, and you don't even know it.
I ain't gonna do that.
But I was gonna say Daddy didn't stop
profanity, not
discipline.
Ever, not ever.
Yeah.
That's what he said. That's what mother. That's what she would cuss you out without saying a cuss word.
I'm like the kids now. She did not cuss people out. She did not.
Wait a minute. You didn't hear what I said.
Yes, I did.
I said without saying a cuss word. Without saying a cuss word. Without saying a cuss word.
Okay, I hear you. I still
okay.
Thank you. As far as Alina was concerned, she had cursed her out without saying a cuss word. And that's how she felt because of the things what every mother had said. But what I was going to say about Daddy is that he didn't stop discipline once I got grown. Anthony had did something, and Johnny very seldom whipped his kids. But Johnny was whipping him, and we were at mother's house. And I just thought he had whipped him too long. So I was on my way upstairs to tell him, now, you know what? And Daddy said, Catherine Ann, come down here and let that boy alone. So I came on down and left him alone because my daddy told me to. So he didn't he didn't just back off because you were grown. You know, for me, he was still daddy.
Okay, so now before we go, I want to remind you all we're gonna need to do this again because we're gonna need to share some stories and tell on each other instead of because see, when I put this on YouTube, it's going to be there for those who are coming up behind us, and they don't want to know. They don't want to know what did Grandma Chi do, and what did Uncle Rook do, and they don't want to know.
Yeah.
So,
y'all need to move on from talking about how my grandmother wasn't sweet.
Well, let me tell you something, baby. She's gonna take the fifth. She's gonna take the Fifth Amendment. I ain't gonna say nothing. I take the Fifth.
I think it's been said enough. It's been said enough, and it needs to be move on from it.
Okay, that had its run, didn't it?
I think it did.
She was just as sweet as she can be. She was just as sweet as she could.
Thank you, Norma.
Just like eating a nice chunk of apple pie. I'm telling you the truth. Once you got that one chunk, you never want another chunk again.
Now she could be nasty. She could be nasty.
I know where y'all got y'all's,
Well, okay, that's
shortcomings from.
Get it all out now. Get it all out now. So when we revisit, that it's going to be over.
Howling us in a car to go sing. So I know where she got it from now.
Yeah.
I used to. You know what? I mean, we get hung up a lot of times on this sweetness and thing, but I know I'm like mother, but I'm not gushy. I don't need everybody always tell me about how I just love you and everything, just kissing on it and doing something stupid all the time. But she was genuine and kind.
Yes, she was.
And honest. And
That's all you need.
I
Ain't that what the man say on the TV? Smart, honest, is all you need.
Oh, really?
say
We know she was there.
Yeah,
Well, I just want to say how much I appreciated seeing my Aunt Harrice.
Yes.
Yes.
I got to see Aunt Harrice and Aunt B at the same time in the same person. Look at that face.
Oh, we haven't seen Aunt Harrice in a long time.
Wow. Looking great.
Well, well, next time we get together, you guys, we're gonna have to, like I said, tell stories about the next generation. I mean, we need to tell Eddie stories and Clinton stories and Oprah
Leave my
stories.
brother alone.
But before you go, can I ask?
We didn't tell Eddie stories. We knew better.
Well, we need to tell Eddie stories. Y'all made me tell.
There's too many
tell on her.
stories for Uncle Eddie, okay?
Oh yeah, those are scary.
Everybody talking at the same time.
Lisa, Leslie, and Diana, y'all just like to lie on people. Y'all just tell all lie. Thinking that we was beating y'all to death.
Somebody must know something on Norma when she's calling off the liars. So she's picking out the liars. So
yeah, because
know
we
something on you.
don't want to tell some stories about our Norma. I'll never forget a lot of her stories.
Harrice says she's got a testimony.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's quiet. Everybody's mic is
tonight. All of us had a testimony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
So we've had our testimony.
Oh, you all already had y'all's testimony?
We just did it tonight.
Yeah.
You just
We
did
just
it.
had our testifying meeting tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we did.
Oh.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Lord, that reminds me growing up in Greystone, where there was no way, once you said you were a Christian, I don't care how old you were, you had to pray prayer meeting time, and you had to do a testimony on the first Sunday. So all of us, I don't know how we managed to do this because we didn't get together and agree on it, but one person would stand up and say, brothers and sisters, I rise to let you know that I too am a Christian, and I want y'all to pray for me that I might grow stronger. And everybody said the same thing.
Yeah, popping up like crazy.
And then one thing about your sweet Lily Mae, Brother Rucker had been asked to do a welcome at a because Greystone had invited a church, or we were going to another church, I don't remember what, and he wanted to sound really profound, so he asked Mother to write his welcome for him. Now, Mother, knowing Brother Rucker, wasn't a very smart man, but she wrote, "It affords me no small degree of pleasure to welcome you all into our humble abode," or whatever the place was. And it was full of flowery junk like that. And she did it deliberately because she wanted to feed his ego. That's how sweet she was, y'all. Brother Rucker memorized that, and at every opportunity, he repeated that stuff that she had said for him. At every opportunity, he rise up. It affords me no small degree of pleasure. Goodness gracious.
Okay.
But Kathy is right about this. She had a way with words. I don't remember that she. I mean, even if you don't use profanity, she cussed people out in that sense. I remember that she would tell you the truth in a way that would cut you down.
Yeah.
So you felt
And she might wake up in church and say shit.
You're not going to add something to it. It wasn't necessary, Dorothy. Just leave it alone.
Wow.
Big Mama would do the same
That was your
thing.
grandmother. That was not your mama. That was
Big Mama would do that for a little
she would
while.
say that word in a hot second.
Oh my goodness.
In church or out of church.
Yes. And she was a sweetheart, but Big Mama, she loved her S word. That was let me tell you one more story about Big Mama though.
Yes.
Big Mama was visiting us for Thanksgiving. And Mother had not done greens. But we had all the other stuff.
Hey.
We had all the other stuff, but no greens. And Big Mama sitting up there, it's late, like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I sure wish we had some greens. So Clinton comes home and hears her saying that. He said, Big Mama, you want some greens? And she said, yeah, baby, but it's too late. The store's all closed now. And he said, I'm gonna get you some greens. So Clinton leaves. And he comes back about an hour or so later with a big croaker sack full of greens.
He done stole them from somebody's garden.
Oh, now she can tell you my baby didn't steal them. And here's what she said. She said, he said, Grandma, Big Mama, here are your greens. So she's picking these greens, sitting there picking these greens. And she said, oh, these are some of the finest greens I have ever seen. And baby, you didn't steal them, did you? and then Clinton said, oh no, Big Mama, I didn't do that. So she'd go on a while and she would pick them up, pick some more of them. And she was talking about what wonderful greens. She said, my baby wouldn't steal no greens. She knew he had gone up to Mr. McConnell's garden and gotten all the greens that he could. The other thing about Big Mama was, you know, she loved the soap operas. I still watch them. But there was a soap opera called for Tomorrow. And on that day's episode, the teenage daughter or 12-year-old daughter of the star of the show, I don't remember people's names, was missing. She ran away from home. And Big Mama was nodding. And she woke up in the middle of her nap and she said, And Mother said, Mama, what's wrong with you? I wonder if that lady ever found her little girl.
On the story, but see, that's the kind of story we need to have some Ina stories and our Stella story, cousin Rachel's story. We got to tell cousin Rachel's story.
Oh, Lord. I know you ain't getting ready to talk about cousin Rachel and Aunt Stella. We could be here all night long.
And I don't say not tonight. Go to.
Okay, yeah. So we want to plan now when we're going to do this again?
Wait. I have a question.
Okay,
question. What happened to the farm where Big Daddy and Big Mama live and where all you used to go? Like, what happened to it?
Good question, babe.
Yeah, Dad, I know, because when we went down there, we went to the house that was in Wetumpka, but Big Daddy still used to go out to a farm and work. But did you all go up on the farm? Yeah. At one time, didn't y'all have a farm, or didn't y'all live out in the country?
No, they didn't.
That was before my time.
Okay.
That was even before your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was told that he was sold it to someone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a year later, they found oil.
My glasses.
Oh no.
Again, he sold for $80, I think.
Get out of here.
And the land was sold a year later for $100 an acre.
Get out of here.
So,
what?
So I just want to say that was not on Big Daddy. That happened to a lot of black men.
Sure did.
They got that land stolen from them.
Took our stuff. Yeah.
It was stolen from them.
That's and that's what Cousin Cliff used to say all the time. He said because they actually stole the land, that there ought to be a way that we could reclaim it. But I'm not
right.
Sure. I'm not sure that
Yeah.
No proof.
So there wasn't no farm. There was no farm, and all of y'all were milking cows near the house.
They did that in the city of Wetumpka, baby. They did that.
Cows just walk them down.
The cows was allowed.
Yeah,
chickens and all that stuff.
There was a farm, like Harry said. There was a farm because I can remember Grandma Scott and Aunt Pearl lived out in the country on a farm when we used to go down there. But they also moved to town.
And
Robin is talking about the stories about milking the cows and getting the eggs and all of that.
Right,
but that was at their house in the city.
Yeah.
They had a garden and they had a chicken pen.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they didn't
have a list of Mama's roles, the role that she was on. She and Aunt Maddie and Aunt Mary. Aunt Lady's name is on it. So, and they have a roll number.
They're enrolled?
They have a roll number, yeah.
Oh, I need to tell Eric that because that's the kind of information he's looking for.
Yeah, you need to have that. Yeah.
But
now,
But Dorothy, you remember Big Daddy's that wagon he had and the big Clydesdale horses? Wasn't that Big Daddy? I
That
remember
was
riding.
years ago. Yeah.
That was, yeah, but I'm saying,
With somebody else's.
did he help somebody for him or something? I remember riding on this wagon.
Big Daddy, Big Daddy would go somewhere. I guess it was on a
Harris
farm
is
or
telling us
something.
stuff, y'all.
Okay, go ahead, Aunt Harris.
I think he was sharecropping with Mr. Hall.
Okay, I remember him. Yeah.
But he had nothing to do with the land. Yeah. To hear the real story, listen to Dorothy's grandbaby.
Yeah, well,
But Aunt Harris,
Deacon Rook almost
Big Daddy
took care of
was
the chickens.
Big Daddy was
We
getting that.
almost killed the chickens.
He was getting that meat from someplace that he had hanging in the
smokehouse.
Smokehouse. So what was he
He
getting?
worked.
So he raised those pigs and
We can't hear you.
raised the pigs himself.
Oh, you
Okay.
raised pigs, yeah.
I don't know where he raised them, but
Were they sharecroppers and get some meat from, you know,
No.
from
Not
the
Big Daddy.
sharecropping?
They wouldn't check her, but Big Daddy.
I don't know where he. I know that they would do them in the backyard.
Mm.
And even after they moved to town, he may have been still going around the country
That's
doing some
what I
farming.
remember. That's where the smokehouse.
Yeah, I remember the smokehouse.
I thought Big Daddy worked on somebody's farm. That's why he
I
was
thought
gone
so too, but
4
maybe
o'clock in
not.
the morning. And he would bring milk home, and he would bring meat home.
Not meat, just milk. But they raised their own meat in the backyard in the
They
pigs.
did that. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well,
Well,
I
I
didn't
know it
ever
was a
see no
cow
meat in the
across the
backyard.
street. So they had a bunch of stuff in there. One man had a turkey farm that was around the corner from where Big Daddy lived. That was Mr. Shot raised a watermelon. I don't know what the man's name that had the turkeys, but he had a turkey farm. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, tell me about Mr. Shot. I don't remember. I remember that name.
The bus driver.
Related to us, was he?
Can you hear you out here?
Really?
Kids from South Bronx.
If we could just get this Dixon child to be quiet, it sure would be.
Dorothy, she looked like you. She favors you.
She acts like her too.
She sure favors
Why don't y'all be quiet so we can, I'm sorry, but I'm Harris, what were you saying?
I was just saying that Mr. Shot picked up the kids from out south and north and brought them to school in Wetumpka.
He was a school bus driver. Okay.
But now he lived down the street though. I know he had those watermelons because he would have us come to the house and just open up a bunch of watermelons in the yard and let us eat as much as we wanted to.
That was, they lived down the street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But then
Now, who was the man who ran the who was the man who ran the little grocery store where he'd sit out on his porch?
Mr. Ed.
Mr. Ed's store, yeah.
And the man who had the turkey farm was around there near Mr. Ed, like across from where Mr. Ed's store was, I think.
The store was right around the corner from the house. One of like on the highway just behind the house, wasn't it?
I don't know. I know. I think that man who raised the turkeys wasn't that far from us from there. Yeah. And then cousin Roosevelt's place was down the street.
Betty, yeah, I know about Betty Road, but the store was what about a door or two down from the church?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were on Wetumpka Street, and the store was on Wewoka.
Okay. And the church,
all right, good people,
was in that same. Was on Wewoka too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because Big Mama's church was down about on one side of the store. And Mother Banks' church, the white.
The other side.
Yeah. On the other side.
Yeah.
And we used to go to Holiness Church, sit in the back, and play cards.
Now I do have Mother's audio recordings from when one of her trips into Wetumpka when she was taking care of Big Daddy, and on her last day there, they had some kind of to do at the church, and Mother didn't go anyplace without her recorder, you know that. So she had recorded the singing. You'll hear Big Daddy singing on that and everything. Harry, did I give you a copy of that?
I think I have a copy of some of the songs that Lily, Daddy, and Zephyr.
Okay, yeah. That's one. She's got one with Cousin Rachel singing, y'all.
Two?
Mother has
Oh,
a
Lord, I
cassette
wanna
tape
hear
of
that.
Cousin Rachel singing. It's hard to understand what she's singing, but she sure is
Give
singing.
me my cane.
I sure wanna hear that.
Cassette tape.
Okay.
So
So
Steve,
Steve, you said when are we coming back together again? Well, like in a couple of weeks or something?
It's
A
been
month?
a couple of weeks or next month, I don't know.
Y'all setting a date now or what?
yeah, let's set a date and a time. Or is Saturday better than any other day of the week?
Probably so.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it is for me.
Oh, Zoom.
Yeah, so just let me
Probably is, Auntie.
Huh?
Saturday, it probably is the better
Saturday
day.
is the best day of the week. Okay.
I think so.
Saturday.
What everybody else think?
You mean?
That sounds good to me. This time was good.
Yeah.
Well, I have
Alrighty.
certainly enjoyed this, and there's so much more. And you know, we covered mother's side of the family. We didn't talk about daddy's side of the family today. And we don't have as much information about them, but you do have Beck's ancestors.
We didn't talk about Uncle Fred.
Dorothy, mute yourself a minute.
Oh, sorry.
You mean Uncle Fred? I'm Pearl's husband?
Yeah, Uncle Fred. Uncle Fred's
Maddie, you remember going out to Aunt Maddie's in Bristol? Have a trail of clothespins back from the house to the toilet.
Oh, Lord, hush, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of our adventures in Oklahoma and in Wetumpka we didn't talk about. So we got a lot of stuff.
So we could go on for this for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, huh?
Yeah, but like I said, I want to put all this on a family YouTube channel. I'll send you all the links.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna drop off, family. Love you.
Okay.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Let
I'm
us
getting ready
know
to
a
go
day.
too.
Don't forget to set the
Saturday's
clock
the
up.
best day.
Okay, we
Oh, Saturday, I think they said.
We need to decide when.
Bye, Harry.
On the Saturday.
And it's a Saturday at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Bye,
good.
Norma. Bye.
Harry.
Barbara.
Bye, everybody.
Good night,
See
everybody.
y'all later.
Bye. Love
Good night,
y'all.
everybody.
All right.
Have a
Bye,
blessed
Sugar
night.
Bear.
Good night.
Love you. Bye bye.
Everybody.
Bye.
Boy, this has been fun.
So
Dorothy,
we-
put your hand on the screen.
But what are you saying? Why you bothering me?
Why you put your hand up on the screen? You need to be.
I was waving.
Oh, that's a wave. Okay.
Yeah, that was my wave. Why are you my girl? You gonna do something with her because she's
Well,
not right.
because we talked about choosing a date.
Oh, somebody said Saturday, and I said that's good with me.
Well, it said a Saturday, but we didn't say which Saturday.
Oh, whichever one you guys choose.
We're in mid-March.
You announced it for Sunday church.
Do this
I think
sometime
about in 3 weeks.
Saturday.
What'd you say, Auntie?
Auntie Reese, did you say something?
Jerry said everybody go to church. I was saying you put it in your announcement.
Oh, an announcement. Oh, yeah.
But everybody don't come to church.
Well, that's true. Those people, we have to reach out to them.
Well, we'll do it. We'll make the announcement at the prayer meetings. Church.
Right.
Excuse me. So this is Miss Fields' daughter. Miss Fields is talking about back in the day, in person. Not familiar with setting up a Zoom meeting. So y'all just go ahead.
But Jerry, when's the best time?
This was fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
We not doing nothing no day. So
okay.
Whatever day
All
you
right.
get.
Okay. This day.
Well, I want to just try to get out there in July. That's what I want to do. Well, we have to see
No,
what
we
happens.
can be traveling in July. The virus is going to be around until next year.
Girl, ain't nobody gonna be hanging on to no virus. You know, I got my trust in Jesus Christ. I'm like, Dean. Is that what Dean?
Okay,
Girl, I'm tired of this virus.
Zoom, and I'm gonna let Mama handle whatever she does over here in Atlanta. Not this. Y'all handle the Zoom business.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna take care of the Zoom. Yeah, we can do the Zoom thing. You and Aries can get together and do the face-to-face meeting.
This is his daughter. Everybody's business.
Well,
All right,
like Terry said now,
And Harry, just good.
those in my generation ain't busy because everybody's retired.
Myself, I don't know about the rest of y'all.
You what?
I'm gonna do what I'm told.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Okay. What did you say, Auntie? All right, Jay.
What the Bible says.
Okay, I'm looking at the calendar.
Twice a child. I guess I'm in the child stage, so I'm gonna do what I'm told.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
We'll see.
Uh-huh.
I have some doubts going on in my head about that one. Okay, so
I'm just little May's child.
yeah.
Oh, you're not doing what you told then.
3 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now. Let's go start with that. 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
Okay, 3 weeks is what, that's fine.
But that's the Saturday.
What day is that? When is that, Barbara? 3 weeks from now.
If we go 3 weeks, that will be April. Oh, that will be April the 3rd. That's Saturday. That's the Saturday before Easter. If that matters.
Oh, I don't know if everybody, you know, how that fits for everybody. That's fine with me, but some people are doing the Easter shopping. These young adults. So,
The
you know,
Saturday before that would be the 27th.
But Saturday after Easter.
so why don't we do it the Saturday after Easter? How's that?
Dorothy, I like that date.
That's the 10th.
Okay. That works for me.
Okay, all right, that sounds good.
Okay, so everybody can put April the 10th at 6 o'clock.
All right.
On your calendar.
Okay.
And we need to get the stories ready and the questions ready, and hopefully more of the young people will be able to join us. Most of the young people came in late. I wonder if 6 is too early.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe they, well, we'll see
No,
what they say.
6
I
would
think
be
6 was
fine.
probably
If you
good.
Make it too late, they'll be gone. They will be gone.
Yeah, I think 6. I think 6 is good.
6 is good. Okay.
Just send me the Zoom information.
Oh, yeah, yeah, my battery's going down.
What'd you say, Ross?
Okay.
Just send me the Zoom information and I'll be good.
You
I'm
sound
getting off because
Maurice.
I don't have my battery's running low and I don't have
Actually, that'll be good because I'll be at Ryan's and y'all be able to see Emerson.
Oh, the baby.
That's great. Okay.
Oh, all right.
All right.
Did you already have the baby?
Oh, they had her in December.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he put the baby on Facebook. You didn't see it?
Oh,
You didn't see it?
no. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he had, yeah.
He's a little bitty thing, ain't he?
So good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right.
Oh, boy,
Right.
you're just spoiled with the grandbaby.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say, and I don't do it every week, I do it rarely, but our Smith cousins do a Zoom gathering every Sunday, and I can't do it every Sunday, but I think on the 21st, they're gonna be doing a tribute to Aunt Sessio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, well, we see, since somebody puts it out on Facebook, it'd be a tribute to Aunt Sessio.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gone.
Okay, we're gone. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, put it